Well, Sophie, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. Like I just said before I hit the record button, I'm so excited to see where this conversation is going to take us, because we're going to talk about a topic that I think a lot of people are diving into, especially in this, this time and age that we're in, with technology, but also on a very, can I say, energetic level. Before we get started, why don't I hand over to you so you can introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited about this whole chat. So for those that don't know me, I'm Sophie Watson, and I guide corporate and entrepreneurial women who are maybe feeling lost, stuck, struggling, not knowing who they are anymore. Some of them may even be feeling guilty because they have what looks like the perfect life, but they're still unhappy in some areas. So what I do is I help them to pinpoint where they need change, help them understand who they truly are as a soul, and then support them to create a life that they love instead. Now, what makes me different from most coaches, and I call myself a soul coach, is that I communicate with spirit and I physically feel other people's emotions and energetic blocks and physical pain as if it was my own. So I'm what's known as an empath. But that all allows me to really get to the root of what's really going on with my clients very, very quickly.
Yes. And this is why I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. But before we dive in there, I want to know a little bit about your story. How did you get started, and how did you kind of go like, oh, well, I'll just be a soul coach then, shall I? I mean, let's face it, it didn't just happen like that. No. But what was that journey like for you? What did that look like?
Oh, it's such a long journey. So basically it started because I had many different jobs over the years, and I didn't really know what it was that I wanted to do. But I had always had this fascination with the unseen. And I have a feeling, because my mum used to go and see clairvoyants and mediums, and I have a feeling that she was told that I would be doing what I'm doing, because when I was 15, she came home and she'd brought me tarot cards and crystals. And she never bought anything for my sister like that. So it was like, oh, this is fascinating stuff. So I used to muck about with my friends doing the tarot cards, and then it all got put away as I went to college and got jobs and everything else. But it wasn't until I eventually got a job as a photographer, and I was head photographer for a portrait company, and it just got too much. And I was doing evenings, weekends. I absolutely loved the job, but it was taking over my life. I didn't have a life anymore. And I just kept getting in the back of my head that I needed to go and see a clairvoyant or a medium. So my friend gave me this number for a woman, and I went along and saw her. And this was before the days of Facebook and all your details being on the internet. And the only information that she had about me was my phone number and my first name. So I've gone along to see her, and everything that she was saying was absolutely spot on. She was bringing through my granddad, she's bringing through my uncle, down to the fact that she was even able to describe stuff that I had when I was a kid. So one of the things she said was, oh, your granddad's saying, remember the marbles. And she's like, I'm seeing a tin with marbles in it. I was like, oh my God, I had a Princess Diana Charles tin when I was a kid, full of marbles. And from that point, I was just like, this woman is absolutely spot on. And then the next thing she said, you could be doing what I'm doing. And I was like, what? Hey, well, how do I go about doing that? And she said, well, I'd have you sit in my spiritual development group, but you live too far away. And I was like, I don't mind traveling. That's absolutely fine. I was getting really excited about it. And she said, no, you need to find your own group. So I had that in the back of my mind. And then we carried on the conversation, and she mentioned Reiki. Now, she didn't say that I should learn Reiki, but she mentioned it. And at the time, I was sat there thinking, what the hell is this woman talking about? I have no idea what Reiki is. I'd never heard of it at that point. So when I left her, I was like, right, okay, I really need to find a spiritual development group because that really excites me. And what the hell is this Reiki thing? So I looked it up. And when I started reading about Reiki and healing. I was like, oh my God, people can do that. That is just amazing. I want to learn it. So the next thing I did was I went along to a psychic fair, and there was a woman there that was advertising that she taught Reiki. I was like, oh, okay. Went and had a chat with her. She did a quick treatment on me, and I came up from that treatment and I was like, I have definitely got to learn this. So I booked on for her weekend course. Went along to the weekend course, and it was just me and one other woman there. So she'd got her friend along for us to practice on. So when it came to the time for me to do the practice, I worked on him, her friend, and when I finished, he sat up and he said, all I'm getting is the future's bright. And again, I thought that was a really weird thing to say. Anyway, turns out he ran a spiritual development group. So it was like, as soon as I put out to the universe that I want to go down this route, like the right people just appeared in front of me. So I started sitting in his development group, and I did all my levels of Reiki. I still sit in that development group now, and actually I'm going tonight. And that just set me on the pathway of really exploring the whole different side, the whole energetic side. So that was where it really began. But it wasn't until 2012 that my whole world just suddenly fell apart. And what actually happened was my husband and I were living in a semi-detached bungalow, which was the other side of my parents. So we had one half, they had the other half. And nothing had been done to our bungalow since 1970. So we were living in it and renovating it at the same time. I had got a job as pharmacy technician, which I absolutely hated. I couldn't stand it. My mum, who was 56, 57 at the time, she was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and then 3 months later, breast cancer. And at the same time, my husband and I were diagnosed with unexplained infertility. So I had all of this going on at once, and I thought I was coping, but actually in reality, I wasn't at all. And it wasn't until I noticed that I was doing stuff that was completely out of character for me that I suddenly went, oh, hang on a minute, something's got to change here. Okay, so I took a step back. I looked at everything that was going on and said to myself, okay, what do I have control over? And obviously it was my job. So that at that point, I decided that I wanted to be running my own business. I wanted to be doing the healing work. And again, as soon as I made that decision, everything started to fall into place. The right people started appearing in front of me. And so January 2014, I started running my business full time, and I haven't looked back. It's just been an amazing ride, and I absolutely love everything that I do. But I know that it is in total alignment with who I am as a soul. And that's what I want for my clients. I want them to be able to find out who they really truly are, find their real passions. And as soon as you're in alignment with who you are, that's when everything starts to manifest and starts to fall into place.
Yeah. And I love your story, and thank you so much for sharing that. But I think the one thing that stands out from it is exactly like you said, that when you were out of alignment, kind of things were not going the way they were supposed to. No. And you just felt like you were basically, banging your head against the wall with certain things. But then as soon as you became alignment, that course correction kind of helped you to go, okay, now you're back on track. And that brought the opportunities, the people along that could help you in order to move in the right direction further still. So I love that. And that's the take that I get from your story. And you just mentioned it as well. But I think it's a beautiful story. And listening to what you're sharing, I mean, I can think back on my life and how things have happened and the course corrections that I had to go through where I was completely out of alignment. But you don't see it that way at that moment in time. You just go like, why is this happening to me? What the heck is going on? And then all of a sudden things are just going great, But I think for everybody listening or watching this video, if they listen to your story, they go like, yeah, that makes sense. I've had similar experiences where I wasn't in alignment, something was off, and then I had to come back, and then opportunities came my way and things started happening.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of beautifully ties into what we want to talk about, which is our energy and, how we live as beings, our alignments, our vibrations, and there's so much more to it. But from your point of view, tell us a little bit about how our energy can affect our business in a nutshell.
Yeah. So whatever we are vibrating, so whatever emotions we have going on with us, whatever limiting beliefs we have, whatever blocks and restrictions there are within us, energetically within our energy centers or just in our thoughts, that is going to have a ripple effect and show in the outside world. So especially in our businesses, because we are our businesses. We cannot separate the two. So whatever is going on in our personal life is going to have an impact on what's going on in our business and vice versa. So it's really, really important that we understand what's going on within us so that we are bringing the right energy into our business so that we can really create this wonderful thing in order to help others.
Yeah. And I think it's really important with what you're saying, because let's face it, everything is energy. And for those listening or watching this video, get this, everything is energy, okay? Even this microphone that I'm talking into, my mouse, this pen that I've got here, it's all energy. It's just in a physical form. But with everything where there's energy, especially for us as beings, Sophie said this as well, is our feelings, our vibrations. And if you're feeling off, if you're feeling negative, you're in a low vibration. But if you're feeling good, you're feeling excited, and you just feel joy and happiness and gratitude, you're in a high vibration. And that's when you're in alignment. So when you're in a high vibration, you're in alignment, that's when you open, and that's when the opportunities will come, and that's when you're attracting to you what you really want in business and in life. It works in both aspects. Yeah. But I think the other thing is because we've been so conditioned from a young age, the way we got brought up, we've kind of obtained certain beliefs. So there are certain aspects of things that we've made our own, stories that we've made our own, that, they're basically past experiences that can still hold us back because we've kind of tied a belief to it. What do you think, or what would you say for people who think they've kind of eliminated these past experiences, but they haven't quite done so yet?
Right. So I'll give you an example of someone that I was having a conversation. So I was doing a group chat, and because of the way that I am, I just pick up on everybody's energy and get drawn to certain people. And this one woman, she wanted to be losing weight, but she couldn't understand why she kept self-sabotaging. Every single time she was sabotaging herself. And I just was having this conversation with her, and suddenly I started seeing her as a 5-year-old, sort of like over in the corner here, and then in the opposite corner were like a load of other kids. And it was like in a school setting. So I said to her, why am I seeing this? Why am I seeing you as a 5-year-old and these kids? It's like you're separated from them. She said, well, that actually happened. When I was at school, one of the teachers or the dinner ladies actually pointed out that I was bigger than all of the other kids because of what I was eating. And they were all sort of like, she segregated me from them. She pointed it all out. And this was in front of all of these other kids. And I said, right, well, that's what you need to deal with. That is what you need to go back and start dealing with and clearing, because until you clear that, you're never going to pass that. But she'd either stored it away, thought that she'd dealt with it in some sort of way, but in reality, she hadn't at all. Or a lot of clients think that they've done the work on it, but if I pick it up with them, they haven't. They've still got something more to clear, and it can go so deep, but it's dealing with it in the right way.
Yes, and I think that's the important part, because you know, like I mentioned before, there are certain stories that people tell us, just like this example. Somebody mentioned that this poor girl is bigger than all the other girls because of what she's eating. So that kind of instilled immediately a feeling in her, a feeling like what it might be: regrets, self-consciousness, low confidence, all of those kind of things. And now that feeling has instilled the belief. And I want everybody to understand this, because it makes sense, okay? When you've got that belief then in you, sometimes what we do as well is we hide it in our subconscious because we don't want to think about it, because it makes us sad. But then when you hide it in your subconscious, you still keep it there, and your subconscious knows it's there. And sometimes it will bring it up without you knowing. And I think this is the thing, what then stops us from doing certain things or from taking on certain opportunities, whether in life or in business, because there's something in the back of our mind just telling us, you're not too good to do that. Or nope, I don't think you've got the confidence to do that. Nope, you can't lose the weight because you've always just been this way. So for you as a person, these beliefs are holding you back. And then maybe you go through certain processes to deal with it. But like Sophia said, there's so many layers deep down that you've got to go through. It's not just one layer, get rid of it and it's done. And I love the work that Sophie is doing, because she's got a very empathetic way of physically helping you to kind of uncover what that thing is, and then obviously eliminating it. So you just feel, can I say, sense of freedom? You just feel free, almost.
I mean, a lot of my clients say to me they feel lighter. So it's like a weight has been lifted. And a lot of the time that's when they haven't even realized that they've got this thing that they're holding on to. And then suddenly this stuff's gone and they're like, oh my God, I feel really different.
Yeah.
And a lot of people actually say to them, oh, you're looking different. There's something different about you. But they can't really say what it is. They can't say, well, you're looking brighter or whatever. Yeah. People just recognize that there has been a shift in them.
Yeah. Yeah. So another question that I want to ask you is, obviously, I have spoken to a lot of hypnotherapists as well, and obviously they do some clearing of these limiting beliefs as well. But where do you find you are different from hypnotherapists? If I may ask that question in a very direct way, because I find it very interesting with what you're doing, but obviously a lot of listeners would listen to this and go, okay, but I know that certain hypnotherapists can do this as well. So what would separate then you from hypnotherapists, as an example?
So what happens with a hypnotherapist, you are going deep into your own consciousness and finding the answer. But what happens with me is that I have spirit tell me. So they will lead me to that actual point. So I can say to somebody, oh, okay, so why is my throat really scratchy? Okay, so if I get a scratchy throat, it's because there's things that person is not saying to other people. So it may be through fear of getting into an argument with them, not knowing exactly what it is that they want to say. Sometimes it's because that person's no longer around. And other times that person's just not going to listen. So what's the point in saying anything? So if I've got all of that going on, we need to find out who that person is that they are not saying things to, and whether or not it's actually something in the past or right now. And so I can ask them, and when I start asking them the questions, sometimes, majority of the time, they do know the person that they need to say things to immediately comes into their mind. Other times it doesn't. So I can say to them, okay, well, I'm getting the age of 12. What was going on when you were 12 years old? So it's making them think about these things. Yeah. And then we can actually look at those actual events that were going on and help them to really understand what it was that was happening at that time. What is it that they've held on to from that time?
Yeah.
And then we can work through it there and then. And I give them tools and techniques that they can use even now. So if something comes up in their everyday life, they can still use those tools and techniques in order to get through it. So I'm empowering them to do the work themselves, but they need a little bit of help to get there in the first place. Yeah. But they can then recognize these behaviors and these traits and and these feelings, so that in the future they can do it for themselves.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful explanation, because, you know, I know some of the audiences who obviously is on the spiritual level and is, you know, believing in all of the laws and things like that. They would say, but I've been to a hypnotherapist, you know, I've cleared these blocks, and that's okay. And that's good. It's nothing against hypnotherapists. But I think from what you're doing, it's just another take on it as well, another level.
Yeah.
And I think for those kind of people who feel that they need that little bit of extra guidance, it's a great situation to be in then, to go like, I can go and talk to Sophie. Great. Let me go and sort this out. So let's go back to energy a little bit, because I think energy is so, so important, in particular for us as businesswomen when we work with clients and customers. So from my point of view, I am very strict with myself before I go and have coaching calls with my clients, in a sense where I do a little bit of meditation before going on a coaching call. I go sit in the garden, I have a cup of tea, especially with this beautiful sunshine we're having today, which doesn't happen always in the winter months. But those kind of things, because I do feel that I need to show up with the right energy in order to serve my clients.
Yeah.
But from your point of view, why is it so important to look after our own energies in order to work with clients or customers?
Okay. So let's look at the whole thing. When you get on an airplane and they go through the safety instructions with you, what are we always told? We're always told to put our oxygen mask on first. Okay, because if we don't put our oxygen mask on first before helping somebody else, we will not have enough oxygen in order to help that person. So instead of maybe one person dying, two people could die, and that's no good for anyone. So why not put your oxygen mask on first? Then you've got enough energy to help somebody else. It's exactly the same in business. When we look after our energy, we are in a much better place in order to help our clients. We can help them on such a deep, deep level when we are coming from a place that we're holding that space for them. And it doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. You are showing up for your clients. You are there to help them. And if you don't help yourself first, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Okay, you need to be an example to your clients too.
So what kind of examples can you give? What is it that you do to look after your own energy before you have sessions with clients? Just to give the audience a little bit of an example, because obviously I gave a couple of examples, but your kind of routine might be a bit different. Yeah. So share with us some ideas of what you do, so the audience can just kind of go like, oh, okay, I get it.
So my first thing in the morning, as soon as I get out of bed, I do a meditation. Mm-hmm. Now I actually come downstairs and I go into the living room and I lay on the sofa and I meditate with my dogs. So it keeps them nice and calm for a while.
I think my dog loves it as well, because he's always with me on the sofa when I do meditation.
It's because you've got that calm energy. It is calming. Yeah. And it's helping to clear your mind for a little while. So that you've got more clarity and you're ready to start the day. So I do my meditation. Some mornings I'll take the dogs for a walk. So again, for me, that's another form of meditation. I might not, depends on the weather, depends on what I've got going on. But the meditation is always the thing that I use. And then before I sit down to work with my clients, I set the intention of what I would like for them. So first of all, I open up in a Native American prayer in this room. So that's preparing the energy in here. And then my intention is something normally along the lines of that my client will receive whatever healing it is that they need today. They'll hear whatever it is they need to hear in order to help them move forward. Mm-hmm. It's just something really simple. What is it that you want for your client? And then after the session, I then cut the cords to them. So I have a routine where I'm like saying thank you for the healing work, and then I cut off from that person, because we still can be exchanging energy even after that session. So I like to make sure that they're keeping their energy, I'm keeping my energy, so that I can then help more people. And that's about it.
Yeah, no, I love your example because I think it just shows that the kind of work you put in really helps in order to bring your energy levels back up, and equally your vibrations, because energy, vibration, frequency is all on trend. But let's talk a little bit about another topic, and this is something where as soon as we go into conversation with this, people are going to go, not quite sure about this one, but okay. Let's talk about past life experiences. Let me just get the words out right. And how these can affect our businesses in this lifetime. So share with us a little bit what you want to say, because I'm very curious, but I know the audience are going to go, okay, let's talk about this.
This one I'm a bit woo. So basically, what I find with a lot of clients, they have these patterns that continue throughout their lives. So it may be this difficult relationship with a family member, or it may be a different, like they can't ever find the right partner. It can be in so many different ways, but they've got these patterns that keep going on and on and on. Now, a lot of my clients have actually tried to work on these things in the past, but those patterns are still continuing. So what I work on, or part of what I work on, is looking back at past lives and understanding where these patterns have come from. So in a past life, it is possible, like with marriage vows in this lifetime. So you make a marriage vow, you can also make other kinds of vows. And you can do that consciously, or you can do it subconsciously. And if it's done in a past life, you can bring it through into this lifetime. So an example of this would be a vow of poverty. So if someone made a vow of poverty in a past life, they bring it through into this lifetime. And how it tends to show up is that they only ever make just enough or a little bit left. So they're doing all this work, they're doing all the right things, but they're never able to bring in enough money. And so what we then do is then we go back and we have a look at the story that was going on in that past life, help them to understand it, take responsibility for it, and then we can start doing the healing and the clearing work on that. So it's amazing what comes up. Another example would be a soulmate contract. So someone that's having difficulty finding the right partner or staying in a relationship, it may be that they have a soulmate contract, which basically that soul may not be incarnated in this lifetime. So they're constantly looking for this soul that they've got this contract with, but actually they're not incarnated, so they're never going to be able to find them. So they're constantly searching. So no one's ever going to meet up to their expectations. So by clearing that energy again, we're then allowing them that freedom to find what it is that they really do want, and allow that energy to come in. So,
yeah. So basically, if you were to uncover these beliefs that you've kind of built up from the age of being a child up until adult life, this is just kind of one step further back, almost. So maybe the things holding you back is not something from this lifetime that you've kind of built up as a belief, but it could be something from an earlier lifetime. Exactly. And this is something also that I touched upon with somebody else, and we had a great conversation about this, because everything is energy. Energy can never be destroyed. It is always and ever present. Yes. And this is why I find that this is also another topic. I think, we can just do a podcast on that topic alone and speak for quite a few hours on it. But I think, if somebody wants to be a little bit open-minded and just remember that energy can never be destroyed, it is always ever present, and it will always be ever present, even long after you are not on planet Earth anymore, so to speak, as a being, or as a life, as a human, then, there are possibilities like that. They are ways of looking at certain energies that is possibly happened in previous lifetimes, and they need to be cleared. So I do find the topic very interesting, but I think it's just a little bit of food for thought for people who feeling that there are certain things holding them back, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And if they feel they have gone through, certain exercises to clear limiting beliefs, but there's still this thing holding them back and they haven't quite pinpointed it, maybe that would be another step that you need to go into, and just tap into that a little bit and see if there were any previous vows made in other lifetimes that is still holding you back from moving forward. But you know what? This is what I find interesting, because as a being here on planet Earth, this is why people always ask this question, what is my purpose? Why am I on planet Earth? And I think, there's no definite answer, but it's to evolve, to expand, to learn.
Our soul wants to experience certain things. So we do. What I found is that we do come back to experience certain things, to resolve certain things, to learn more, whether or not that is like as a physical being or as a spirit. We're still always learning, we're still always evolving, we're always changing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I just love this conversation. It's so invigorating. But we have to conclude as well with everything, because I think, everybody listening to this, they're either sitting in awe and their brains are just jam-packed with information, or they're just so curious and they just want to learn more. And I think, this is one of those things that you've beautifully offered. So you're offering for everybody who's listening here or watching the video a free 30-minute curiosity call in order to learn a little bit more about themselves and what those potential blocks could be. Maybe not in this lifetime, but in a previous lifetime. So tell us a little bit about what they can discover then from this curiosity call with you.
So the curiosity call is, as we said, 30 minutes, free call, where we look at where you're at right now, where you want to get to. And because of the way that I work, I'll pick up on what is maybe preventing you from getting there. And if we feel that it's a match, if we feel that we can work together, then we'd look at what kind of program would be right for you. There's no pressure, there's no obligation. And if I don't feel I'm the right person to help you, I know that I know so many different therapists. There is somebody that would be able to help you, that I can put you in contact with. So there's no obligation. You're not going to lose out. It's win-win. I make sure that you get something or get guided towards someone that's going to be able to help you.
Yeah. And I think that's the important part, because even just discovering what could potentially be that underlying thing that we need to work on is already a huge breakthrough, because otherwise, if we don't know what we don't know, we don't know what to fix.
Exactly. How can we change anything?
Exactly. So thank you so much for making that available for everybody. So what we're going to do, for those of you listening or watching this video, I'll have the link in my show notes at the bottom, where you can obviously go and get in contact with Sophie and arrange that 30-minute curiosity call with her. And then also, if you want to connect with her on social media, her details will be there for LinkedIn and also for Facebook. So you can connect with her there. And if you want to have a chat with her, by all means, get in contact. I'm sure she would love to hear from you. And then obviously, take it from there. But I think, as a whole, I just feel that this was so enlightening, just talking to you about energy. I think it's a topic that a lot of people are tapping into. And for those people that are hearing it for the first time, hopefully that have created a bit of curiosity for them to go and explore it on a bit of a deeper level, because it does make a huge difference. So don't let curiosity stop you, people. Just go out there and find out a little bit more. And if you really want to dive in, go and contact Sophie. Do you have any other questions? Anything else you wanted to share?
No, that's lovely. Thank you so much. It's been so lovely chatting with you. I love conversations like this.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the time being here and just sharing. I really appreciate it. And we'll keep in touch.
Yeah,